Richard Osborne, USOpen.org. Hey, Novak. We see you on the court. We don't always know what's going on in your head. And as you chase these big numbers, as you chase these big numbers, it'll be 24 here now that you're chasing. I just wonder what it's like, if you could give us a glimpse inside your head when you're playing in those big pressure matches and you have all that sort of on your shoulders.
Well, I get nervous as anybody else, really. I mean, people think that, you know, I don't have any stress or tension. You know, actually, in contrary, I have quite a lot of that, and you know, I have to deal with it, manage it. As you know, everyone has their own way of managing the emotions and trying to be in optimal balance emotionally, mentally, and physically in order to perform their best. I've played great the entire week prior to the finals, haven't dropped a set in Cincinnati, and then, you know, played night sessions, all of the matches, and then I played on a very hot day and just experienced physical difficulties. And, you know, Carlos was playing very well, and, you know, he's always pushing me to the limit. I think I do to him pretty much the same thing, and that's why we produced memorable final. I mean, it was one of the best, most exciting, and most difficult finals I was ever part of in best of three, no doubt, throughout my career. You know, that's why I fell on the ground, you know, after I won the match, because it felt like, you know, winning a Grand Slam, to be honest. You know, it just the amount of exchanges and rallies, and it was physically so demanding and so grueling that, you know, it felt very exhausted for the next few days. But those are kind of the moments and matches that I still, you know, push myself on a daily basis for, you know, day in, day out, practice, sacrifice, you know, commitment. At 36, you know, still have the drive, you know. And I love competition, you know. I think the more you find yourself in those particular circumstances where you're experiencing adversity on the court, where things are not maybe moving the right way for you in terms of the performance of that day, in terms of tennis, or mentally you're not feeling your best, that's normally the best possible opportunity for you to grow mentally from that, you know, to learn something. And you know, normally in the face of adversity is where you learn the most. So that's kind of my mentality, you know, in this kind of matches, you know, really trying to not accept defeat as an option, you know, and really give it all. And you know, it's kind of a cat and mouse play really on the court. There's a lot of things that are happening, and you try to outplay or outsmart your opponent tactically, but then you have to fight with your own demons, you know, as well. The doubt, the self-doubt, the tension, and all the things that are happening, you know, in the midst of such battle.
Willie Weinbaum from ESPN. I know that. When you think about this place and the highs and the lows that you've had here, what are the first things that come to mind?
Well, the first feeling that I have is excitement to come back, because it is the biggest arena we have in our sport, biggest stadium, and definitely the most fun, electric, exciting atmosphere out there in tennis, playing night session in Arthur Ashe, no doubt. So I'm very excited that I'll be able to play on the opening night on Monday, come back in front of, you know, probably loudest fans in sport, tennis fans in sport, and you know, I'm just very, very looking forward to that. It's been 2 years that I've, you know, when I played last here and lost finals to Medvedev in 21, going for, you know, 4 slams in a year. I haven't performed well that day in terms of tennis, but what I felt from the crowd and that kind of connection and love and support that they gave me throughout the entire match, and also in the closing ceremony, was something that I carry still in my heart, and I still feel, you know, vibes from that night of the finals 2 years ago. So, yeah, I try to use that for this year's tournament.
Brian
Brian Lewis, New York Post. Obviously, there's a lot of water under the bridge from your last appearance to now here. But I'm curious, does the length of time that you were away from playing here at the U.S. Open, or the inability to play here the last couple of years, does that add anything to what you're going to be feeling when you get out there?
Well, Grand Slams are, the biggest goals that I have in my my career at the moment. I always, speak about that I aim to peak and perform my best in Grand Slam. So I don't know how many more slams I'll have. I'll still keep going. I don't have an end. In my mind at the moment, but I also understand that things are different when you're 36. So you have to be more appreciative and just a bit more, I guess, present. That treating every Grand Slam as maybe your last one in terms of commitment and performance. So I see this every Grand Slam that I played right now as really a golden opportunity, to make more history. So. Of course, there's a big significance to that. I mean, I wouldn't say, adds a bit more the fact that I haven't played here for 2 years. It's just the feeling is pretty much the same. There's always, this expectations and excitement and ambition to win the title. So that's pretty much the same this year.
Brian
Mahoney, Associated Press. When you do come back here this week, is there any sort of lingering anger or disappointment that, I should have been here last year? And, you mentioned the last match you played here was such a great sort of feeling with the fans and you. Yeah. Was it, make that more of a bummer to not be here last year when the last time was such a great moment?
No, there was no anger. It was more, it was last year during the Open that I felt like, it's pity that I'm not there. And I felt sad for not being able to participate. But this year is, this year is this year. I don't think about what happened in the last year or last couple of years. Just focusing my attention to this year's tournament.
Adam.
Novak, Adam Zagoria from Forbes. Hi. Do you still live and stay and train in New Jersey when you come to the Open? And if so, what benefits do you get out of that? And are you able to see or enjoy New Jersey at all?
Yeah, I do. I combine the city with New Jersey. Normally before the tournament starts, I'm in the city, and then once the tournament starts, we go into full lockdown mode. Kind of, my friend has a beautiful estate there with tennis courts, and just me and my family, we stay there. We have a relaxing time, and it's great in the off days between the matches. You just kind of recharge. Rejuvenate, and you're able to come out and really, have more energy. I just feel like, the city is amazing, but after a while it starts being a distraction. And I think when the tournament starts, what you need is the tranquility and just taking things day by day.
All the way in the back.
Ashish Malhotra, Indian Tennis Daily. Since Roger won here last in...
I don't know what I'm doing with this mic. Sorry.
Since Roger won here last in 2008, no male player has won this title back-to-back. It's been 15 years. What do you think it is specifically about this tournament, and even for you specifically, that you haven't been able to do it compared to, say, the other hardcourt slam, which you won so many times in a row?
Well, I actually lost more finals here than I won in my career. So my score in the finals of US Open is the worst of all slams, I think. There's some very close finals that I lost, and some that I won. But generally, I think the consistency of results here has been pretty good. I mean, I've played most of my US Open editions, at least quarterfinals or better, throughout the last 15 years. It could be the fact that it's in the end of the season, in a way. End of the Grand Slam season is the last Grand Slam of the year, and it's been, 8 tough months of tennis for all the players, and then maybe that's the reason why you would probably see more surprises in this Grand Slam than maybe some other slams. I mean, that's the only thing that really comes to my mind. No, nothing else.
Okay. 2 more questions. Back there.
Hi there, Matt Roberts, Tennis Podcast. You've had so many rivals throughout your career, and obviously this one now with Alcaraz. Just wondering, when you're in a rivalry like that, how much are you thinking about that player when you're training? Is there anything particular about Alcaraz's game which is having like a material impact on what you're working on and how you're training?
I wouldn't say specifically. I mean, depends if there is a potential matchup coming closer, then yes, I would be probably thinking a bit more, working on certain tactical implementations on the court, practice court, that I could use against him in my favor. But again, tennis is such sport where, for example, in a tournament like Cincinnati, you play 5 matches in 5 days. You can't be really thinking about what happens in 3 or 4 days. You're just thinking about the next day and your next opponent. I think it's also, in a way, disrespectful to your next opponent if you're thinking already about your finals matchup, even though, I've had tremendous success, and, maybe you could argue that I could already start thinking about later phases and stages of the tournament, but, that kind of mindset never really resonated with me, but, Carlos is number 1 in the world, is definitely one of the best players in the world the last couple of years. So sure, there's always an eye that follows him, from my team or from any other team. I know that it's same goes for me, probably, that we follow each other. I'm sure that his team watches my matches, my team watches his matches. It's no secret. But, seriously working on a practice court on something that is related to Alcaraz, it only happens if I get to play him.
Last question, this young man right here. Yes.
Hey Novak, Billie from Inside Tennis. Since coming back to New York City, you've been having a lot of fun. We saw your invitations on the court, and you played tennis yesterday on Times Square, and you were driving around Times Square. So has the approach for this year's US Open kind of feels different from everything that's happened in the past for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to have fun, as I said, staying in the city, and, the city gives you a lot of energy to some point, and I'm, really enjoying myself. Waterdrop has organized a great event yesterday at the Times Square, and it was the first time, I played tennis at the Times Square. It was fun with kids from one of the local tennis clubs, and there's so much to do and so much to see. But then obviously you have to balance it well with your commitments here on site. Training and preparing and recovering. I wouldn't say it has changed too much. I'm trying to juggle, I guess, with commitments that I have off the court with sponsors and, some PR activities. But, most of the attention is obviously focused on what needs to be done so I can prepare well for US Open.